Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles, and on this episode we're going to do It Came From the Network. And the topic of this episode of It Came From the Network, ECW Hardcore TV, Season 6, Episode 41, from October 10th, 1998. Now you might be saying to yourself, that seems totally random, and it is. So this is how I came about getting that. I decided I wanted to do one of the ECW Hardcore TVs. I put the season, Peacock has them as seasons instead of what year it is. So I put the season in a random number generator, gave me season 6, and then I put the episode in a random number generator, gave me the episode 41. So that's how we got here. If you're not familiar with It Came From the Network, this is where we review the weird, wacky, campy, sometimes bad, sometimes good stuff you could find on the WWE Network, formerly WWE Network, now Peacock. And if you haven't seen one of these before, we gate everything on a 1 to 5 scale, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. Let's get down to business. We start off with a match that's joined in progress. See about the last 2 minutes of it. Chris Chetty versus Lance Storm. Lance Storm picks up the win, and then we go immediately into a Lance Storm highlight reel. Normally, I don't include the highlight reels, but since it is such a big part of what ECW did back then, I kind of lumped that into the match and this, because realistically, it was the last 2 minutes of a match. I'm not really going to grade that. I mean, that's an incomplete, if anything. But with the highlight reel and how they pumped up Lance Storm, I'm going to give this all a 4. I thought it was a really good way to promote one of your star talents, one of your up-and-coming talents at the time. And I really enjoyed what they showed in the match, and obviously his highlights, because they're not going to show his lowlights. That being said, jumping into our second match of the night, Justin Credible versus Balls Mahoney. Justin was still sort of new to ECW at this time. I think he was about a little less than a year, or maybe even a little bit over a year into his ECW run here. We started seeing him really taking a turn to becoming what he would be, being one of the main guys. Justin was joined at ringside by Jason, his manager, and Chastity. Balls Mahoney had Axel Rotten in his corner because at the time they were tag team partners. This match ended up going to a no contest. They all got involved. Tommy Dreamer got involved. Jack Victory got involved. Rugged Ron Price. It ended up being kind of a schmoz. There was no announced winner on it, and kind of weird that I don't remember ECW doing that much, where they didn't, even with all the run-ins, they had winners and losers. They didn't really have no contest, so kind of weird. I didn't remember that much. Overall, the match itself, other than a little bit of overbooking, which was kind of par for the course at the time, other than the overbooking, and even the overbooking kind of fit into what they did, I'm going to give this a 4. I thought it was a really solid match. Now, coming from that, again, because it is a shorter show and there wasn't much to review, they did highlights from the ECW Arena. What can I say? That segment got a 5. And last but not least, our main event of the evening. Bubba Ray Dudley versus Masato Tanaka. This was another really solid match. Kind of more of a brawling style to this one. Kind of a little bit more leaning to the hardcore side of ECW. I thought this was good. Bubba, it's kind of funny because at times you forget just how heavy Bubba Dudley was in ECW, because he got trimmed down in WWE, and then even more trim when he became Bully Ray in TNA. So it kind of is funny looking back and seeing Bubba probably at the biggest of his career. This was a really, really solid match. I mean, we had Devon on the outside, Big Dick Dudley. Again, it gets a little bit overbooked at the end. Tanaka ends up picking up the win. We get interference from the Triple Threat. At that time, it was Shane Douglas, Bam Bam Bigelow, and Chris Candido. We get the Dudley boys, Big Dick and Devon, helping out at some point, which leads us to what we've seen in the arena highlights, which is leading to the November to Remember that year, which was going to be the Triple Threat, Bigelow, Douglas, and Candido, versus the new Triple Threat of Rob Van Dam, Sabu, and Taz, which, if you haven't watched that, that's a really awesome match, actually. It's a good match with a lot of the stalwarts of ECW in there, a good introduction to what ECW was and what they did. Again, Tanaka picked up the win here. I'm going to give the match itself a 4. Another really solid match and a really well-produced card. This is kind of, I think 98 is probably one of the 3 best years of ECW. I think 95 was their best year. 97 and 98, to me, were both, I guess I would say they were tied for second best. But 98 really had some really good stuff in here. We had we had guys emerging like Lance Storm and Just Incredible. Tommy Dreamer was still at where Tommy Dreamer would be. You had guys like Masato Tanaka coming in. Rob Van Dam was elevating even more than what he had already been. You still had stalwarts like Sabu, Taz, Shane Douglas doing some of their best work in these years. I really enjoyed the product in this year, and I really enjoyed this show. I didn't. As you can see, it's not really anything where a lot of memorable stuff happens. It's just an average show, a filler show, even if you say that. But to me, it was just really good, really well put together. The packages worked really well. The matches they showed worked really well. I thought it was awesome. And I know I'm an ECW mark, so I may have a little bit of bias here. But I would definitely recommend this episode in a bubble as something you could go back and watch. Now, I will say I have went back and watched some ECW, and since then it's become dated and it's become problematic. This show did not have that constraint. This did not have any of that fallings. I thought this was really good. I'm going to give the show overall, I'm going to give it a 4. I thought it was really solid. Just a great show. Just another example of what ECW did at their best. Now, coming off of that, let me know what you think. Hit me up in the comments. Hit like, subscribe if you haven't. Share this out there. And if you've made it this far, if you watch this video all the way to the end, put in the comments, let's put balls. Just for balls, Mahoney. Rest in peace, balls. For you, we're going to put balls in the comments if you made it this far. So, with all that being said, my name is George Coles, and this has been an episode of It Came From the Network.